Today, guys, we thought we'd do a whole series of what's in my box, and this one is going to be all about trucking gear. This is the stuff that I've always got packed at the stables for in case the horse has to get onto the box. I like using these ammo crates. It makes life a lot easier. Everything gets stacked in there. These guys are super stackable, and you can even buy bigger and smaller ones. And yeah, let's see how we go it. Okay, so the first thing that I put in my box is a day sheet. These we got from Western Shop, very, very kindly sponsored for our Young Horse series in Gauteng in 2016. So I try to make sure that I've always got a clean day sheet in there. I do have a clipped horse, so when he does travel and it gets cold, I like him to have something on him just so that he's nice and warm. The next thing I always keep in my box is I keep two different lead ropes in my box. The first lead rope is one without a chain. You'll notice it's quite thick and it's round. So if they tie and they pull against each other, it's much easier to get them undone from a quick release knot if it's round like this and not flat. The second thing I keep in my box in terms of lead ropes is I do have a chain lead in my box. The reason being Danny was a stallion up until the age of about 14. So he can get difficult during breeding season. And I prefer rather to be prepared rather than hope I have one at the stables. Right, so talking about lead ropes, I always have two leather head collars in my box. I prefer to use this one. It is adjustable at the bottom and it is adjustable on both sides at the top. But knowing horses, leather brakes. So I, in my tracking box and two shows, always carry a spare. Then if you put your horse on the box, in the tracks, they're not that bad. They're quite high, they tend to not bash their heads. In the horse boxes, especially coming out, I find my horse tends to brace up and against, and I'm always worried he bangs his head. So I used to always use quite a small pole guard. Nothing wrong with these, they work quite well. But lately I found this one, which has got a leather pad on top, and I like these quite a bit. I know they look very cumbersome and they look quite gas masky, but they tend to work. And because they go over their ears, the difference is with the two is this one goes around the ears. So if the horse tries to pull up against you, I found that these guys actually tend to pull your head collar off. So I prefer this one because this one, when the horse does pull against you, because it's over his ears, even though the head collar is slightly not as secure as it would be without a pole guard, this tends to help to keep them on their heads. Then the next thing that I have in my box is a tail bandage. I've got this really, really cool gel bandage from Acavallo. I tend to also have a tail guard, but case in point, my horse has sat on it and broke it. So at the moment, we're only going with the tail bandage. Now the Acavallo products are gel and they can be sticky. So what I've done with mine is I've simply cut a piece of felt that's long enough for the tail bandage to roll up into so that it doesn't stick to itself while I'm putting it away, but that when I want it, I can just re-roll it quick and put it on my horse. So when I roll bandages, I always roll Velcro to the inside. And I'm not too concerned about how neatly I roll this or how tightly I roll this. I'll worry about that when I unroll the felt to get the bandage back out again. Cool beans. Now for the important parts. When you track a horse, you can either track them without bandages, without boots. I know of a lot of people that track their horses with their working boots, so brushing boots or tendon boots. For me personally, I use bandages and fillers. So these bandages are knitted bandages from Equeline. They're exactly the perfect length. They are the perfect stretch. They're not too stretchy. They're not like felt that's got absolutely no stretch. And I've had these for years and years and years, and they still feel and look brand new. So I track with bandages. Most people that I know track with tracking boots. My problem is with my horse that if you put tracking boots on, he tripods, he will not get out of the box. And I've had a few moments where I've had to go in and take his tracking boots off while he's in the box, which is exceptionally dangerous. And I found this system just works better. So I've got the bandages, and then I also have the Equiline fillers. Again, these guys are equally old. They've got 1 or 2 little nicks, but you know, it's easy to repair them. They are padded, but the way that they've been stitched and the padding, I find that you have very little folds in, which is important when you're bandaging, because if you have an uneven pad and you unevenly bandage over that, you're going to do a lot of damage. So 4 pads, 4 bandages, all in the box. The next thing that I have in my box is something that I know a lot of people don't have. I find these lifesavers though. These little quick knots, they're called safety ties. When the horse pulls against them with normal amount of pressure, they don't move. But they have a mechanism that if the horse pulls against them, they open and they'll release the horse. And I just find these are absolutely fantastic, which is why I always carry 2 in my tracking box. I tie my horse to them, I tie my hay nets to them. They're an absolute lifesaver in my life. The last thing that I have in my tracking box is my horse's passport. In South Africa, it's law. If you travel a horse, it has to travel with a passport. The passport needs to contain the identity of the horse, which is always the middle page, and it has to contain all the horse's vaccinations, both African horse sickness and flu, and any other if you do them. If you have a horse and you're traveling it into the Western Cape, you also need a travel permit, which looks like this. It gets signed off by the state vet, and you then in the page in your passport have a page that your vet signs off to say that your horse is healthy to travel. Again, in South Africa, it's law. Your passport needs to travel with your horse. Now, my horse has got a right collapse vein, and he's an AHS survivor. So I have a little sticky note in the front of my passport that says that. My vets also know this. But say, for example, my horse gets sick, the vet that he normally sees is not available, then at least the vet can take the passport and go, oh wait, I've got to be careful. The left side of the vein is collapsed. I should rather lose the right. So yeah, that's very simply what's in my tracking box. As I say, keep it in a crate, keep it all together, nice and easy. Guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. Don't forget to like, subscribe and buzz the bell. En onthou, kyk noord en fok voort.